So here's one way to dramatically improve your time in college sports. Just change your gender. A man at the University of Pennsylvania now says he's a woman, and as a result, he's completely dominating the competition. He goes by Lia Thomas and recently won a race, a swimming race, by more than 38 seconds. If you know anything about swimming, 38 seconds is like the normal equivalent of like 4 days, because that's just like, there are no 38-second differences between top competitors in a swim meet. But Thomas says he should be allowed to compete in any category because he doesn't have an unfair advantage.
I think the guidelines they set forward are very good and do a very good job of promoting inclusivity while keeping competitional integrity going. Everybody is able to compete in the category they're most comfortable with, unless there's a proven unfair advantage that they have.
Not attacking the kid, obviously, but what about everybody else? Everyone else who has to pretend that that's true. It's like pretending that Omicron, which doesn't actually kill people, is somehow a terrifying threat to our civilization. It's like a lie. It's insane. And if you have to go along with it, you're degraded because you're complicit in the dishonesty. One person who's brave enough to point this out was the editor-in-chief of Swimming World magazine, who compared Thomas's advantage to doping. And that seemed like a big change, like an adult in the room. Clay Travis has always been an adult in the room. He's the founder of Outkick. He joins us tonight. Clay, thanks so much for coming on. So the editor of a swimming magazine pointing out what's clear to every rational person seems like an advance to me.
Look, Tucker, you're exactly right about this. First, thanks for having me on. Second, this is absolute insanity, all right?
Right.
You have got a biological man who didn't just decide to become a female swimmer. He was good enough to be on the University of Pennsylvania men's team. And then he sits out for a year, decides to identify as a woman, and shows up and dominates all of women's swimming. We're talking about this guy potentially breaking every college women's swimming record that has ever existed. Every woman out there who has ever competed as a swimmer or really competed in women's athletics at all, who gets up early in the morning, who puts in every ounce of their ability into their pursuit of swimming, every feminist, every Title IX advocate should be standing up and screaming for the heavens, from the heavens, this is unacceptable because men are bigger, stronger, and faster biologically than women. This is totally absurd. But what you get, Tucker, and you know this, is when two left-wing ideologies, identity politics collide. You got feminist and Title IX supporters on one side who support women's athletics, and then you've got the trans agenda on the other side. You have to pick a side. And what often happens in these stories, look at people who cover sports media, they just pretend it doesn't exist. ESPN, Tucker, you know this. They love to cover every single conflict of sports and politics. They haven't written a single story about this, Tucker. It's a sham, not one. Every time somebody doesn't go to the White House to visit Trump, it's the lead story on ESPN for 5 years. A biological man threatens to become the greatest women's swimmer of all time, and they don't even cover it. They pretend it doesn't exist.
Well, maybe that's why ESPN used to be so impressive. It was famous in the TV business for having the smartest producers. Impressive people went to ESPN. And then their numbers tanked because they became liars. Like, they're just liars. So who would watch that?
Well, not only that, Tucker, it's the very foundation and essence of sports. That's why we watch, to see the best man or the best woman win.
Right.
We have, look, and by the way, we don't even have to talk about the transgender agenda. You've got kids, I've got kids. We don't let 10-year-olds compete against 18-year-olds in Little League Baseball, right? We don't let flyweight boxers who weigh 120 pounds go fight heavyweight boxers like Mike Tyson back in the day, because we know that's not a fair fight. We have all sorts of regulations. Big high schools don't play little high schools. And yet we've got somehow a man deciding to become a woman, and he's going to be the greatest women's swimmer of all time. I mean, I got a good email about this recently. You'll appreciate it. What if LeBron James, at the end of his NBA career, decided he didn't want to quit playing basketball and wanted to become a WNBA star and be the best men's and women's basketball player of all time because he's not going to catch Jordan? Are we going to allow that? He could be the best women's basketball player until he's 65, probably. It's a farce. It's ludicrous. It's insane. But this is where far left-wing politics mixed with sports lead us, Tucker. It's an absolute unmitigated disaster.
I kind of hope LeBron James does go to the WNBA because really
Wouldn't it be amazing?
no two have ever deserved one another more. You know what? I'm absolutely rooting for that, actually, come to think of it.
What if Tucker, that was his play to catch Jordan in championships? He's not going to catch him otherwise, but what if he starts to argue, hey, I got 4 men's championships, and then I added on 3 women's championships in the WNBA. I did catch Jordan in championships. I dare you to call him on it. It's absurd. But I would love to. Maybe ESPN would even cover that story. I don't know.
We're encouraging it strongly. I'd love to see the politicized ladies of the WNBA.
I'd love to see it too.
Explain why that can't happen. Clay Travis, great to see you. Merry Christmas. Thanks a lot.